Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. So if you follow me over at Mopar Insiders, you probably saw that I wrote an article this morning about former Stellantis CEO Carlos Tavares. Now, Tavares is a pretty controversial figure inside the company, and in December of last year, he was forced out of his CEO position after Stellantis stock dropped significantly in the last half of the year. His relentless cost-cutting, plant moves, and reconstructing plans might have looked good on paper, but they rattled investors, upset unions, and ticked off government officials, especially in Europe. So the board eventually lost confidence in him and pushed him into resignation. Now, since then, over the past 10 months, he's had time to sit back and write a book about his experience running Stellantis. That book was just released this week in France, and while I haven't read it cover to cover, I've seen quite a few excerpts and transcripts floating around, and it's expected to be released globally by the end of the month, but what's already coming out is making waves, especially his warning about where the company may be headed. Now, in the book, Tavares makes it clear that he's worried about Stellantis staying unified. He writes, "I am worried that the three-way balance between Italy, France, and the US will break." He adds, "The global survival as a standalone company will depend on management paying attention to unity every day." Now, that's a pretty bold statement, but it reflects what a lot of people have suspected during his time in charge. Now, Tavares often seemed to polarize Stellantis' French operations over the broader global picture, and this book kind of confirms that perspective. He even admits it himself, saying, "With me gone, I'm not sure that the French interests that I always had at heart, whether you believe it or not, will be as well defended." Now, that quote really stands out. It shows that he viewed Stellantis through a French lens as someone trying to protect the French industry and influence more than being a global CEO balancing three massive regions. And it's something that rubbed people in Italy, North America, and even within the former FCA ranks the wrong way. Now, Tavares also talks about managing the company's tri-national identity and how it's become increasingly difficult. France wants to protect jobs and maintain a strong industrial footprint. Italy demands investment in domestic factories to provide local pride. And the US, where Stellantis earns most of its profits, is focused on selling trucks and SUVs, as well as building out its electrification roadmap. Tavares says that kind of push and pull is dangerous and, if not handled carefully, could tear the company apart. He also outlines a future scenario, writing, "One possible scenario, and there's many others, could be a Chinese manufacturer one day making a bid for the European business, with the Americans taking back North American operations." Basically, he believes if Stellantis can't maintain its balance, it could eventually split, with Europe sold off and the US side, including Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram, becoming independent again. Now, that might seem far-fetched, but considering the growing pressure from Chinese automakers and the political push from the US for more American-made ownership, it's not entirely out of the realm of a possibility. Now, Tavares also touches on his own leadership controversies, moving production and engineering to lower-cost regions like Morocco, cutting thousands of jobs, and requiring many employees to work from home. He insists that these moves were necessary for long-term competitiveness, but admits that they came at a cost. Many longtime Stellantis employees left, some even joining Chinese companies like BYD, which is now gaining serious ground in Europe. Since his departure, though, things inside Stellantis seem to have improved. The board appointed Antonio Filosa, a longtime FCA executive and former head of Jeep brand, as the new CEO back in June. Tavares actually called Filosa the logical and rational choice to succeed him, which is very interesting. Filosa also already committed to investing $13 billion in the US, Stellantis' most profitable region, and has restructured leadership around former FCA talent with deep roots in Latin America and North America. Now, that, of course, has caused some friction in Europe, especially in France and Italy, where unions are worried about losing influence. But after talking to several people within the organization over the past few months, it sounds like morale and overall confidence in the company's direction are a lot higher than what they were during Tavares' final year. Still, his book highlights a critical point that Stellantis' strength as a global company is also its biggest challenge. Managing three distinct national identities, each with its own political and economic expectations, isn't easy. And as Tavares warned, the balance could fall apart if leadership doesn't stay focused on keeping the company unified. So what do you think? Was Carlos Tavares right about the risk of Stellantis breaking apart, or is he just defending his legacy after being forced out? Now, drop your comments down below, And as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.